Hey everybody, Nightmare Kelp Street back, and today I'm going to be taking a little bit of break from work to finally do my Friday wrap-ups for the past 2 weeks. Apologies for not being able to get to it in the past week. I've had a bit of an update on my channel if you hadn't noticed it, but I had a dental appointment that took way longer than expected. It took about 4 or 5 hours in the day I did it, and I had to miss work that day. So I was in great pain for a good day or two. But I'm glad to finally get in and get a deep clean when I can. If you're returning to the channel, thank you so much for being back. If you're new to the channel and you just kind of stumble across this video, my name is Nightmare on Kelp Street. I do at least one of these videos every week or every other week to do Friday wrap-ups on what dropped on Friday album releases or single releases. I started including singles a few weeks ago, so these are just general like week by week or bi-weekly updates of albums or singles that are coming out. So say if you're somebody that doesn't follow newer music that often and you just want somewhere to kind of tune into and kind of just like check in what's coming out recently. I include the genre of all these albums as well in singles. I try my best to include the genre both in the video and in the description. So if you're coming in and you don't know that much about newer music or newer artists, you can come in with a fresh, clean slate and just based on what you hear in this video alone. If you hear a genre or something that speaks to you either thematically through the sound of or theme of the album or just through the structuring of the genre, if it's a genre it sounds like it fits you best, like if you like pop and you hear pop punk album, then, you know, it'd be more fitted towards what you already know you already like. If you're somebody who just listens to radio in general, and just like whatever's on, you know, whether it be through radio or what you hear in public through like Walmart or Target or something like that, that's fine too. Thank you for clicking on this video and sticking around to kind of listen to me ramble on about music. It's something I really love to do, and people in my life know that, so that's why I started this channel this year, to talk about things I love. So yeah, we're going to start getting into it. Starting with November, I'll kind of clarify. This video is going to be covering November 8th and November 15th. So the past 2 Fridays that I've missed since having my mouth give a bit of a rest and cool down after getting in there for the dentist that heavy. So we're going to be covering November 8th and 15th of Friday drops. And if you're curious of why I cover specifically Friday drops, throughout the years of me following newer music, it's pretty typical for artists to drop either Friday, Saturday, or Sunday, but specifically Friday is a huge day for album releases. Whether it be by surprise or scheduled, Friday is just a huge day for albums. So that's why I set these as like Friday wrap-ups, because I'm also kind of giving myself a catalog over the years, over the months and eventually years of things that have come out over the years and talking about them with about a week or two of listen on my mind. And you know, most of these I've done a full listen through. This is probably the first week in a while where the majority of albums here I haven't heard all the way through, but I just had a lot going on, whether through work or the dentist or getting things ready for this channel, doing shorts and the main channel videos. And I made a video recently about mental health and music that I really wanted to make, so I'm very happy with making that, and I highly suggest trying out that video. But today is going to be one of the few times where I do a Friday wrap-up and I haven't heard the entirety of most of these albums. But I'm excited to get to them. So I'll rank them in the way of like what I was most excited to get to least excited to get to. I'm going to start with the singles though, because we have less singles to talk about this week. And singles generally I don't have a lot to say about. Either I like them or I don't, because I just have one song to go off of usually. Sometimes the EP pack or something will come out, but I usually include that. EPs, short 2 or 3 chunk of songs or singles album drops. I consider that with my albums because it's like a package of songs. So today, my favorite of the singles that came out this past 2 or 3 weeks is Lil Nas X Light Again. This music video is incredible. Highly suggest going to watch it. Definitely just gives the vibe of like queer people getting together, having a party, having a good time. A very fun song. It's one of the most fun songs I've heard by him, next to like Old Town Road or I would say, yeah, that's what the big 2 I think of when I think of Lil Nas X. So if that's the only song you know him off of, and you like that song, I highly suggest this one. It's definitely not a country song. It's getting more into his pop bag. So I would highly suggest listening to this one. It's such a fun, easy song to listen to, and I'm excited to go listen to it after I finish this video. The second of singles that came out recently is Drums of Death by FK Twigs. And I highly suggest if you're going to listen to this song, first watching the video. I know it's a little longer of all the singles that we're talking about today. Watching the video FK Twigs made on his YouTube channel for Eusexua. It is a combo of these 2 songs. The Drums of Death intro the song Eusexua, and then it plays into the main lead single Eusexua. She's this businesswoman at like an office space, and then you kind of just start the video starts pivoting, and you see everybody start getting these like dance formations, like choreography and everything, and then the transitions over into Eusexua, which is an incredible song, one of my favorite songs of the year. Gorgeous video, can't stop thinking about it, even though it's about 7-8 minutes long. No time have I watched it and felt like I regretted watching it. So I highly suggest watching this video. Probably one of my favorite music videos of the year, actually, too. So I'm really excited for this album to come out next year. It's weird that I also looked at the track listing already, and Drums of Death and Eusexua aren't together on the track listing. They're split up between a few different songs. So I'm interested to see how the album's going to flow once it fully does come out and we get it in a different format. Otherwise, incredible listen. I would consider the genre of FK Twigs to be like indie pop. Drums of Death specifically is a instrumental drum break, glitchy pop. I would consider her. She does like glitchy editing with Drums of Death I can think of, and then Eusexua, kind of very upper registers and singing. She has a very, very high voice. So if you're the type of person who like gets headaches easily from like very high pitches, I would highly suggest listening to this in a moment where you feel ready for that, because her upper registers in her voice get higher than I could ever talk. Keep Pushing by Clipping is the next single we're gonna be covering. Clipping is a noise rap band I've been following for years now, headed by Davey Diggs, who was one of the main cast members of Hamilton when it was brought on Broadway. And generally, I've been following both his private career, Davey Diggs, as a rapper, and through Clipping. And I think Clipping has been the most interesting because over the years, I've seen him collab with people like JPEG Mafia, make reference to Death Grips. You know, he's really tapped in, and the trio is really tapped into the noisy rap side of things. And I'm a person who really likes heady music. I really like dense lyrics. I really like noisy beats and noisy things. That's why I like hyperpop. That's why I like noise rap. It's why I like really experimental, strange genres. And I'll consider Clipping to be under like experimental rap, noise rap. This one's probably the most toned back out of any song they've done in a good while. I'll consider this one to be more like a West Coast type rap, where the majority of the song doesn't really get that noisy at all, outside of maybe some parts transitioning into the chorus. And it's just generally a song that came out right after the election. They're a very political band, and they've dropped songs in response to like Black Lives Matter movements and things like that, in support of them. And this song is no less anything what I expected from them. Keep Pushing is all a song about, like, regardless of how you feel in this current political climate, like, keep pushing, it's going to be okay, things will be fine. And generally, as somebody who's open leftist and open socialist, it's something that, you know, it's a reaffirming message that can be simple, but you need in a certain moment. So if there's any other queer people, any other people of color, any other people who are liberal or left-leaning or socialist, I highly suggest giving this a listen. Even if you're not a very political person, this is a great smooth song and a good reminder to, like, you know, it's generalized enough to when you listen to it, you're like, I know what he's talking about, but generally it's a good message of like, just keep pushing no matter what's facing you in front of you. And I really like that message. We need more wholesome songs and albums out in the world. Our last single for this past 2-3 weeks is going to be Desperate Ex-Girlfriend by Faerybabyy. Faerybabyy is somebody who I've been following only this year. I've been following her for a few months at a time. Yeah, I found her channel, her YouTube channel, with my wife at home, and we just binged through all her YouTube videos in like the span of like an hour or two, because she didn't have that much music on YouTube at all. So I've been really loving her because it really throws back to like the kind of the aesthetics of like 80s indie pop. The aesthetics of her video is like all like camcorder, VCR, stuff like that. Very simple, like kind of homebrew editing. The music is, very smooth, very gorgeous. The name Faerybabyy really fits to how sweet and solemn and beautiful the music is. I would say she has more of a deeper voice than I expected when I first kind of listening to her music. I would say less like as deep as in like a masculine, like monotone type voice like that, but more just like a dry delivery, like she's telling you a joke with a dry tinge delivery to it that like you laugh, but you feel a little guilty for laughing at. That's kind of the tone I come away with some of her lyrics and some of her songs. So I highly suggest listening to this. It's a very funny, fun song. Regardless of the title, Desperate Ex-Girlfriend, it's just a very fun song. And one of her songs has been stuck in my head for weeks now. I've been trying to tell ya, hope you got all the paraphernalia, 'cause I want my records back for your girlfriend has a heart attack. And that's one of the most gorgeous flowing Just easy, but so catchy of a chorus that I've heard of a chorus all year. The EP is called Lucky Star. It's on the Lucky Star EP. I can't remember which single specifically, but it's going to be on the Lucky Star EP. So I highly suggest if you like this single, go listen to that EP, because it's only like 4 or 5 songs. Pretty short. It's about 20-ish minutes or so. Next, we're going to be getting into the albums of these past 2 or 3 weeks. My favorite album of the past 2 Friday drops is going to be Petrichor by 070 Shake. 070 Shake was somebody who I got into and started following because I saw that she was signed by Kanye for a short while. I don't know if that's still true. I'll probably figure that out as I'm editing this video. But Petrichor as a term is a term of like, it's a term of like the fresh smell of rain right after a big dry period. And it really reflects in the topic and the tone of this album, where she's talking about how a lot of her albums I listened to previously was very solemn, very much talking about the regret of exes or being with an ex-girlfriend and things like that. Why this is my favorite is something I relate to more than most other albums here, is that 070 Shake is a very openly vocal queer lesbian artist. More on the butch side of the, lesbian, like, are you more feminine or butch? Most people, there can be 2 more feminine people in a lesbian relationship, but most straight people and heterosexual people and cisgender people typically are like, oh, there's the more manly one and the more feminine one. That's typically how they consider that. That's not like everybody shouldn't view lesbian relationships like that, but typically a lot of straight people do. So if you are one type of people, straight or cis people, that still do view lesbian relationships like that, then you go on this album and be like, okay, she's the more like masculine one in the relationship. And it does show for like the language she uses, and talks about how she's like, I want my girl, come over here, The lead single to this was Winter Baby and New Jersey Blues. The latter half of that I liked a lot more. Dropping Winter Baby so early into like November or like last month felt a little weird, because we're dropping Christmas shit so early. I've seen other people dropping like Christmas movies, like Red One, the movie, that looked fucking weird. I'm not watching that. I've seen people dropping Christmas songs already, and I'm like, bro, just wait till December 1st. Wait till an appropriate time, goddammit. I didn't mean for that to turn into a rant about Christmas music, but I seasonal music for me is the very narrow window of when it's appropriate. I'm like, any time outside of December, Christmas music never rotation in my car or my home. So, yeah, Winter Baby generally was a confusing single to first drop, but then when it transitioned over into New Jersey Blues, I was like, oh, this is more what I expected of her. I love this. This, like, really bass-heavy, like, New Jersey Blues. I'm coming home to you. And I'm like, oh, okay, the really creeping in there. And then I really love how it opens and ends really stuck with me. Sin and Love really sandwiched the album together in a great way. Think of songs like Elephant, another music video I need to get to soon that looked really good, and the song was great. I think of songs like... a song for the siren. It's this a set of like a songs from the siren, where they're like, her and Courtney Love are like serenading the siren to bring to them, which is a really cool concept for a song. So it's easily my favorite concept. I love concept albums, so for both concept and out of context, this album's great to me. I would consider the genre of it to be, I would say, electronic singer songwriter, not acoustic. I would say it's very heavy in production. Very thick layers and like electronic, dense production, pop, electronic, rap in some moments, R&B in some moments. It really is a blend of a few different things that makes it hard to pin down. And that's what some of the artists and albums I like the most are hard to pin down. They are ever changing and ever evolving. Next on my favorite listens that I finished this past 2 weeks is Gwen Stefani's Bouquet. This was a short 10-track, gorgeous album. Gwen Stefani of Black Eyed Peas fame, if you don't know, was the main femme singer in Black Eyed Peas. And her solo career has been off and on hitting for some people over the years. This is generally was a strange drop because we haven't heard from her in so long. But this was a really sweet listen about how she's like singing about how like I consider my partner like this bouquet of flowers, where I feel so... like the smell of them, and every time it feels like a gift to me every time I'm with them and things like that. And another wholesome project and wholesome songs that I really liked, and all of the songs throughout it are themed like about cornflower or about different flowers. So it was an incredible listen, very smooth listen to me, only about 30-ish minutes or so. I'll consider Gwen Stefani just be straight pop. I'm a big pop girly, so anything that, if it comes out pop and it's good enough, and you know, it floats by for me. Like, I like Dua Lipa, I like Sabrina Carpenter, I like Chappelle Roan, I like Gwen Stefani, I like Doja Cat, even though she's considered more into pop rap. I like Doja Cat. Generally, I've grown over my years to love pop. I used to be anti-pop growing up, because I was like, oh, if too many people like it, I can't like it also. It puts me in the majority in crowd, and I'm not special or whatever, you know, if I like pop, because I can just hear that everywhere. But there's nothing wrong with enjoying something that a lot of people enjoy, because a lot of people enjoy it for a reason. There's something that speaks to them. And this is one of those examples where, like, Gwen Stefani growing up, especially, like, her debut album really spoke to me a lot. So I've been following her career since then. So I really got deep into her debut album. What You Waiting For being one of my favorite songs by her, and her song with Andre 3000 in the end. The third of these albums that I finished and I enjoyed, was Cordae, The Crossroads. This one was a good album, not flawless to me, but a great album. Cordae, we used to go by YB and Cordae, is a rapper, and I would say at times like singer in some of his songs. And this album has him open up the most, and I've seen him open up in a good while, talking about how he's like, damn, I had my grandma on an album at one point, and then she died, and his last song is like, his memorial to you. I'm happy I got to spend my time with you and loved you, and I regret I didn't spend more time with you. It's very, as someone who's lost all their grandmas, it's very heartfelt ending that hit me in a way that was very specific, and I was like, oh, that, you know, that hit in a way I didn't expect, but it's very relatable type of experience of, like, you know, when somebody's always around, you feel like you always will be around. So appreciating people when they're around with you and there for you while they're still there is the best I can think we could do for them, you know. And you can't beat yourself up too much for not being there more for a person. If it's already past, it's past. You have to live in the now as much as you can. So this album was pretty good. There were some songs I think of where the chorus where he's like, it really stuck out to me, where he's like, what's the benefit of having a mansion and having all this money if I have no one to share it with? If I check my text and I feel like nobody's there for me, and, you know, things like that, where I'm like, that's very rare when somebody can get me to, like, sympathize with them when they're talking about, like, you know, having, like, a mansion or having so much money and flexing and things like that. I've never been a big fan of, like, flex songs. I'll listen to them passively if I'm driving and stuff like that, but, like, that's why I've never been a big fan of Jay-Z. It's not why I've never been a big fan of, like, a lot of the rap from the 2000s specifically, because, like, it's kind of the bling era where a lot of people just talk about flexing things, and that, you know, which wasn't for me. Next, I would consider to be one of the most heady albums out of anything that came out this past 2 weeks is Ab-Soul's Soulburger. I mentioned this in another short recently, or another main channel video, can't remember which one, but Ab-Soul with Soulburger, Schoolboy Q with Blue Lips, and Doechii with Alligator Bites Never Heal give us a three-peat this year of some of the biggest albums by TDE this year, in rap in general, too. And I keep thinking about them. I was listening to the Doechii album again earlier today, and it was incredible. I'm listening to this a day or two ago and still picking up things for the first time, listening to reviews of it, picking up things for the first time I didn't hear even after second or third listen. Ab-Soul is more of a conscious rapper, very heady rapper. I think of, like, the first song, 9 Mile, is a great way. It's like a reference to 8 Mile by Eminem. Is a great way to kind of, like, intro us into his, like, very heady raps. As he goes on, he has Doechii on the album, but it's like a singing verse instead of a rapping verse, which I think was a cool flip on, like, her expectations of people expecting her to come in and, like, drop a crazy verse like she did on Tyler the Creator's album with Balloons. So I think that it's really cool how he utilizes the people that do show up on the album, and the majority of the album goes through, like, his dealings with fame, his dealings with, like, the first song, depression and, like, suicide attempts when he was still on drugs. His dealings with, like, a lot of his albums cover, like, his dealings with religion and how he struggles with religion, which is also something I deal with growing up in Baptist South and not really identifying with religion at all outside of maybe green witchcraft and Wiccan, because I had relatives who were into Wiccan studies and things like that, but generally still never being too deep into any one religion, just kind of being on the outside of that and always kind of watching from the outside, being like, you know, maybe one day I'll find something that truly connects with me, but green witchcraft is probably the only thing that's ever really connected with me close on that level. But generally, this Ab-Soul album is incredible. I just kind of need more time to sit with it because it's so heady. I feel like I don't really understand a lot of it yet. I need to really like kind of dig in there and get in the trenches. Alrighty, part 2 on this, because I ran out of phone storage as I was recording this. Eventually I'll get a dedicated camera for the channel once I kind of get all set up and start getting bigger and get a station in my house for it. But we're going to be going to the albums that I did not finish but really liked and I'm really excited to get to, starting with the ones I'm most excited to get back to. And the first of those is going to be Femtanyl Reactor. One song featuring Danny Brown on it. If you know Danny Brown, he has like some kind of higher pitch rap voice. Femtanyl is mainly electronic, hyper pop, I would say glitch pop artist as far as I understand them, and I'm listening to them newer this year because of recommendations due through Eden is online streams or just seeing them around. This was incredible, like I would say short album, EP. A lot of hyper pop albums have really short albums, so I just consider this an album. But if you know, you know, Danny Brown has been getting tapped into the hyperpop scene for a while now, hanging out with Jane Remover, Underscores. So yeah, Danny Brown's getting really tapped into the hyperpop community. Dorian Electra did a verse with Dorian Electra. So I think eventually Danny Brown's either going to collab with somebody or just drop a hyperpop rap album, which I'm really excited for. What a crazy crossover to have even here as a single and have like singles spread out over the internet and over streaming services. So I'm very excited to one day hear a Danny Brown hyperpop EP or album. I would love that. It's a crazy crossover rip, but I would love it. Next, I'm most excited to get to. So the next I'm most excited to get to is Poppy, Negative Spaces. Poppy I've been seeing live at least about once a year or every other year for about 4 or 5 years now. I've seen her live at least about 4 or 5 times as well. Given the course of a good solid about half a decade. But she comes out to the Midwest often, and it's one of the few artists that does hit up the Midwest often, so it's really rare when you see that. She's through this album, for some reason, she's not coming back out here for whatever reason. But this is a great rock, screamo, in times like rock pop album, I would say. Very heavily more leaning as she goes on in the years in the screamo area, so the only reason why I haven't finished this album yet is because it's so loud at moments and like aggressive rock that I haven't been in the mood to, really have something that heavy recently. I want something more chill. But I highly suggest, regardless, trying out this album when you feel in the mood for it. If you want something energetic, if you're trying to wake up in the morning, it's a great album for that. Next is a viewer-requested album that I didn't get to finishing, but maybe I'll eventually just do a one-off quickie review on it anyways. Linkin Park, From Zero. Linkin Park is somebody who is very formative in how I listen to music now. Hybrid Theory specifically is being the album that I was grown on and loved as a like alt-punk pop. Like a hybrid rap rock fusion. And nowadays they're just kind of doing like pop rock, I would consider it. Not, even its heaviest doesn't really peak its heaviest back in the day when they had Chester as the main singer. Rest in peace. I know that he died a few years ago from mental health issues, and it brings another awareness to this channel that just like my mental health video recently with music, I highly suggest that if music is a tool for you to help ground yourself and like love yourself out, and you find a community in music like I did growing up through like concerts or friends or meeting people, find wherever you can find solace, because I know it's hard and life in general is hard, especially when you deal with ongoing mental health issues like Chester did and like I do. So if you're the type of person out there who does deal with things like that, find whatever solace you can in family, friends, music, the community of music, whether it be through online or in person. I try to do a bit of both because you get a balance of everything in your life if you can. But this album was a good pop rock punk album from as far as I could tell. I made it to this track like 3 or 4. I think I made it the song Heavy as the Crown. And then for just whatever reason, it wasn't hitting the day I started. And I like to, approach an album with my best foot forward. So if I know I wasn't feeling it already, I wanted to wait till a day I was feeling it more and maybe reset the album and just give it a full ride out. Because if I start now, I might get 3 or 4 songs in, whether either by mood of the day or something else happening. I want to approach it with my best foot forward and give it a good shot, give it a fair shot. Next, it was Maxo Kream, Personification. I started this one and then made it up to the song Big Homie, Big Hoe Me. And as it got on, I was like, this is a good decent rap album from like the first few tracks. Just like with my earlier rant on this channel, if you want to go back and listen to that, misogyny and rap with Future and Joyner Lucas. Some albums just get so aggressively misogynistic for me that it really makes me grit my teeth and be like, oh, I can't really ignore how he's like, I be slapping dudes and shooting bitches, and I'm like, okay. And you can call me soft, and you can say whatever down in the comments if you so choose to do. But generally, for albums like this, I'm like, yeah, the beats were okay. His rapping was okay. The topics and how he approaches, talking about certain people or things, I don't like. So the personality is kind of divorcing me from liking the rest of the music. So, generally a good, decent rap album. I probably end up finishing it at some point while I'm riding around, but not something I'm going to be revisiting after a first full listen. Next is going to be Shawn Mendes, Shawn. He kept talking about in this album, I take a break. I didn't fucking notice because I don't listen to Shawn Mendes. This is my first foray into listening to a full Shawn Mendes album. And it was soothing. It was a nice, cool, soothing album. I just can't shake the feeling that he's a fuck boy. And I don't know what gives me the feeling, but it just does. So I stopped the album and moved on. I would consider this album to be like, singer-songwriter, more towards the instrumentalist part, a bit country twang in some moments, if I heard correctly. Like indie pop, like acoustic songwriter type material. It's a very stripped back album, very stripped cut and core, like a guitar, maybe a drum sometimes, and just his voice and just like going. Which sometimes is a soothing listen and it's something I need, So there were some wholesome bits on there. I'm forgetting that I think I did finish this album and I just didn't remember the second half. So that tells you how much I liked it if I did finish it fully, and I kind of just put it in this side because I don't remember half the album. It just kind of rode by me like a stream. It just kind of rolled beside me and I didn't notice. Next is going to be ASAP Ferg, Darold. I made it to track 2 or 3, just like with Maxo Kream. I generally like the first track or 2, and then it just dropped off heavy for me, and I don't really know why. It's another just straight up rap album. I like ASAP Rocky a lot more out of the ASAP crew. I don't know why ASAP Ferg's never just clicked for me, but he really hasn't. Even his feature on the Brockhampton album that he was on, I really didn't care for that much. But the album itself was generally good, that it outweighed him being on the album to me. So I'm going to kind of fly by this one too. Next is going to be Sahbabii with Saaheem. Just like with the other albums I mentioned so far, it's another rap album where I dipped my toes in a little bit, made it to a few tracks in, didn't like the personality, and then dipped out. Another just straight cut rap R&B type album. I like the dude's aesthetic. I like the dude's album covers. I like the dude's look. I like his voice even. I just don't like the topics. I don't like how he approaches things. I don't like how he approaches talking about people or women or things, or the topics he's talking about. So that loses me quickly. If you're, since I'm somebody who really likes really in-depth, conscious, heady rap, if you can't pull me in with something like that, then you're gonna lose me as a listener quickly. Or if the production isn't doing something that really stuns me and really grabs me, because I'm also a really big production person. Next is going to be Denzel Curry, King of the Mischievious South, the deluxe edition. He dropped this in a weird way, where earlier this year he dropped it like King of the Mischievious South Part 2, and I kept looking for Part 1, and then later in the year, in the past few weeks, he drops the deluxe edition, just renaming it to like King of the Mischievious South, removing Part 2. So I was like, oh, this is considered to be like the core edition of the album. He just withheld songs to add on till later. And generally, the songs that he included, I didn't like as much. And I hate to say this because I've seen the people loving this album online, but I didn't like King of the Mischievious South, the bass edition, either. I pulled out some highlights, but the majority of the time, a year or two ago, I heard Denzel Curry kind of talking about, he's like, oh, I want to address how I talk about women and kind of like reform myself and like talk about them in better ways. But this album is regressing for me. It's like he's talking even more about how he's like, paper over pussy hoe, and like songs like that, where I'm like, oh, I thought, you made a song talking about how you wanted to start leaning away from talking about women like this and like belittling them and calling them bitches and things like that. But here we are about a year, 2 years later, and we're regressing. We're leaning further into talking about women like that and talking about how he's like, don't trust these hoes, don't trust these bitches. So it just discouraged me a little bit to, give this album more chances, because I'm like, yeah, you presented me the facade of being better in your music, of talking about women like this, but, you just pull that back because, it makes money and people like it, songs like that. I'll consider this to be like a pop rap album. You know, it's a good passive listen if you're not somebody who's like tunes into the lyrics like heavily like that, but I can't divorce it enough to where like I like the entire thing. I would just suggest listening to Taboo or you know, Zoo over this any day to me. But one of the last albums we're gonna be covering today that I really am excited to get into before the end of the day is, it just dropped today, November 20th, 2024. Kenny Mason, Angel Eyes. And Kenny Mason is a very interesting figure to me because he bisects in this genre of like rap, rock, R&B in some moments, but typically just rap rock. Everything like, you know, he has like eras of like, he'll just be straight rap song, straight rock song. I think of see you when you get back home is an incredible song, Back Home. At the end of one of his EPs, where it's just like a really really full throttle rock song. Like it's just through and through a rock song from a rapper, which is incredible to me. I'm like, this is like really a bend of genre that I didn't expect from somebody, but I'm been excited to listen to everything he dropped since, because I'm like, damn, his rap features kill it, his rock versus rock songs kill it. So he can do it all to me. I'm like, if he ends up on a higher pop album at some point in the future, I wouldn't be surprised, because I'm like, this motherfucker could do it. I feel like he's just losing traction as his like albums go by, and he hasn't been picking up as much attention to me. So I highly suggest, if anything on this list, you know, try something new. I would say faerybabyy and Kenny Mason are two people I want to see come up in the future. I really want to see them catch traction and really get big. So Kenny Mason, I would consider this album. I don't know the genre of this album yet because I haven't listened to it yet, but I'm gonna assume going on my listen it's gonna be a little bit of rap, a little bit of rock, at least. You know, it's kind of my assumption going into my listen today. But that's all I have for you today, Kelpies. Thank you for sticking around, listening to me rant along. I'm going to have some more main channel videos out soon and some more shorts out. I'm going to have shorts out at least about daily or, you know, every other day. I've seen the traction and love that's been getting, so thank you so much. Whether you're just stumbling across this channel or whether you've been hanging out for a while now and been subscribed, I would like to hit 60 subscribers by the end of the month, but if we can't, that's okay. I would just recommend, if you've already been following the channel regularly, to share this to one person who you think would be interested in listening to somebody talk about like newer music, or, you know, have any interest like you. And if you do, then we can eventually hit it by the end of the month, and, you know, small goals eventually work to a bigger motive of maybe one day I can finally have this channel bounce off enough to where I won't have to work full-time, or I can just have the YouTube as my full-time job. I'll just get more entrenched in higher quality video setting and video editing and things like that. And that would be a dream, but, you know, one day, you know, we'll start slow and work up, and that's how everybody does. Thank you so much for sticking around again. I love you, Kelpies, and good night. Mwah. Hey everybody, as I record this last bit, it's currently November 25th, 2024. Tacking this on at the very end because I had some pretty big releases come out at the very end of this past Friday, and I want to go and cover them and release it as the past 3 weeks Friday updates, instead of just 2 weeks. So in addition here, we're going to add on a few short albums and projects. I already heard one of them, but I'm going to get to the others in the next coming week or so. They were on my radar, so I figured they might be on somebody else's radar. And even if I haven't listened to them yet, you know, I wanted to bring them up. I've done that a few times on this channel, of albums that I've been expecting and looking forward to, but I haven't gotten to yet. And, you know, I kind of just do my little one-off review of it on shorts or whatever whenever I do get to it. But just to have it, you know, kind of down for anybody else who's also looking into things like this. So my favorite listen of this most recent Friday, the 22nd, yes, November 22nd was last Friday drop, was Kendrick Lamar's surprise album, GNX. It was an incredible album. I would say it's roughly about 40 minutes long. Definitely a rap West Coast like type vibey album. A bit of like, it's more instrumentalist and really bare bones in some sections, like I think the intro song. But generally it was an incredible album, about 40 minutes long. Talked to a coworker about it today and they loved it. So I'm excited to get my third listen of it. I just finished my second listen of it today, and I'm kind of working my way back to Untitled Unmastered, and then I'm going to listen to my favorite Kendrick album still, which is Pimp Butterfly. I'm doing a Kendrick binge today to kind of do the back catalog while I'm walking around at work. Sometimes hearing new things while I'm interacting with customers or driving around can catch me, but generally when I'm in the car and when I'm at home, I'll turn on my new listens and kind of rotate through that. The next thing I'm most excited to get to is I've been in want of some good rock albums, like some punk rock or screamo rock or like some alt rock. And Marilyn Manson's newest album, One Assassination Under God. I was a pretty edgy kid, edgy teen, so I loved Marilyn Manson growing up, especially like albums like The Dope Show, albums like Antichrist Superstar. So I'm really excited to try this one out. His past 2 or 3 albums haven't really done it for me, but I'm still gonna give it a shot, because why not, you know? But generally this one seems, I haven't heard a lot about it, so I don't have a lot of high expectations, but if I pull 1 or 2 tracks out of it that I like, that's my highlight, so I'm fine with that. Everything else on the list I don't have super high hopes for, but I'm gonna give them a listen anyways. My third highest on the list here is Father John Misty, magashmashana. It's all one word. Father John Misty is somebody who I'd consider making like indie alt singer-songwriter. Very, very bare bones in some of his songs, but he gets up in really lush production on certain songs. The biggest album I know him for is talks a lot about death and religion. Of course, tied to his name, Father John Misty. Very boisterous voice. Very big singing voice. He's like very much leans on a singer than like rapper or like R&B artist or things like that. So generally I'm excited to get this one because I know he has really high concept albums. Sometimes they're a little too heady for like the type of day I'm having, so I'm like letting it sit for, you know, when I'm ready for that full album listen. But I am excited to still get to it. My next highest would be Ice Cube, Man Down. I love the old Ice Cube stuff past, I would say, like, you know, 2005, 2010. I could tell his hit kind of past his peak, but at least for me. But generally, I'm still gonna check out anything new by him or bigger artists like him just to give it a shot. More considered just a straight rap album as far as I know about it. I've been looking up things on it to get to be ready to my listen. And then the last thing, kind of a double hitter here, is the Wicked soundtrack and Arcane soundtrack. I just finished season 2 last night. Incredible. A little sad, but really good. Arcane's like the League of Legends show that's on Netflix now. Has 2 seasons. Wicked, the movie. They both have soundtracks. They both have soundtracks that seem like had a pretty good hitter of main, really good cast of artists or people playing in the movies. Or like for Wicked, they have Ariana Grande on it, which I'm excited for. I love Ariana. Covered album by her that just came out earlier this year. Highly recommend go watching that. And from Arcane, they had Ashniko on the album, and I believe Denzel Curry. 2 artists that I really love. One I've covered on the channel already, Denzel Curry. But otherwise, yeah, I don't have a lot to say at this very ending part. Not a lot this Friday really popped out and really grabbed me outside of these like 4 or 5 picks, and only 2 of them I'm really excited for to get listens to, the Kendrick one and that Father John Misty one, because I like concept albums. And the concept of Kendrick's album, about like he's talking about how he's like, I did past life regression, now I feel like I'm reincarnated, and then we get to things like turn the TV off. Seems to kind of go through a duality about like, I want to forgive people, I don't want to be as aggressive, but also I can't not lay off. I'm at my peak, I know I'm at my prime, and I know I'm at 1, so I can't let off. And I really like the energy he's bringing, where you know, he's kind of approaching this in a do as I say, not as I do type topic on this album, as far as I understand it. But there are still really good highlights just out of context, like the R&B track, like in track 3 or 4, the ending song Gloria. SZA's on 2 songs on here, and she's incredible. Just I have a lot to say about it, so I might make a solo channel video on it soon. But I just want to kind of tag this at the very end if I just wrap up for today, because I'm already editing the video. And you know, I figured there wasn't enough this Friday to really make its own full other separate video on it. So I want to tack it all together here. Remember to like, comment, subscribe. I love you all, you Kelpies. Share this with one person, or comment down below what you're currently listening to or what you would like me to cover, and I'll eventually get to it. I'm gonna start making a list that you might see in some of the main channel videos, knocking down all my viewers' suggestions, because if I eventually get enough albums, I'll be on a backlog. So I want to make sure I get through all of them, because I really appreciate everybody who puts input for me to listen to something and get a review of it. I really appreciate all of you. So thank you so much. Bye, Kelpies.